guys, today is the next day because we were having some issues getting the tranny in, but the transmission is in, as you can see it right there from in the vehicle. We got the drive shaft in, big beautiful thing right there, but we are pretty much done underneath the truck. Time to put the shifter in, but we are filling it from up here. And last time we filled it with tranny fluid, I ran synchro mesh, that GM synchro mesh, and that worked pretty good. But we are going to try out some ATF plus 4 this time. So everyone says you're supposed to use Mobile 1 ATF tranny fluid in this T56 manual transmission, but my thoughts are that the ATF plus 4 actually has a lot more like slip additive in it than actually synchro mesh and Mobile 1 ATF has in it. And I've been running ATF plus 4 and F600 over here in the manual transmission, and it's been nothing but smooth. It actually cleaned it up really well. I think maybe it was rust, I don't know, that thing sat for a while, but it actually smoothed that out really well. So we are going to try it in my 04 Dodge Ram srt10. We are going to try some ATF plus 4 into this baby, see how that works, because this stuff actually works really good. Like the G56 and the 2500, 3500, 5500 Dodge diesel trucks use ATF plus 4, and a lot of Dodge manual transmissions actually call for ATF plus 4. T56 is not made by Dodge. They made this one especially for the Viper, but Chrysler does not make this transmission. They actually call for like some Castrol or something like that. But everyone says to run Mobile 1 ATF in these transmissions, so we're going to give ATF plus 4 a go around in this guy. If it burns out the synchros, it burns out the synchros. I can rebuild that. It's not a big deal, but we're going to give it a big test. I think it's going to work great. I think it's going to work better than all the other stuff that they have on the market, even Redline. I'm not a fan of Redline. If you guys seen the video of Cobalt with reverse issues, he was running that Redline transmission fluid in there, and he actually burnt up his reverse synchro. It literally smushed it, like pancaked it up, and we had to destroy it. And I'm not a fan of that Redline stuff. I don't think it has enough slip additive in it. It probably does a good job of lubricating, but I'm not a fan of the Redline stuff after what happened to his transmission. And just like that, you can fill up. This is way easier filling it than the actual plug on the side of the transmission. These trannies take 3.5 quarts. I'm probably going to put a little bit more in than that, because I don't know, it's manual. I like a little bit more tranny fluid in it. But yeah, good pour right here. Just takes a little bit longer, but it's a lot easier than sitting there using a pump underneath on the side of the tranny. Everything's back together. I took a shower because I was filthy, and we are about to start her up and pull her out in the driveway and wash her real quick, because I literally haven't washed this truck since we've been at Rock Falls, so it is absolutely filthy. Alright guys, it's like day 3 of putting this stupid clutch in. We have an issue that it won't go into reverse, so I bled the clutch like a million times. If you can see the brake fluid bottle and the hose coming off the bleeder screw from underneath on the transmission, off the slave cylinder. So it won't go into reverse, and it goes into first and second really hard. So when I got this clutch, the discs said top and bottom and they were backwards, so I moved them. So I think that's the issue we have. So I have to pull the transmission, bell housing, and clutch out again and do it all over again. So today we're going to be pulling the transmission out of Venom once again after he's all together and whatnot. And yeah, oh, I'm not motivated. I'm going to go take a mental nap and then come out here and just get it done. Stop complaining about it. So yeah guys, watch me pull the transmission back out of Venom, because I am dumb and messed up. Alright guys, I don't know where we left off, but I'm in full uniform to get dirty and pull this transmission out. So yes, the truck is all put back together, looking beautiful, and we have to take it all back apart. Usually, like, these trannies take me like 45 minutes to put together. We were having a big issue with getting the transmission in. I actually messed up a pilot bearing putting it in. So let's take a quick looky at that. But this is just kind of how it is putting trannies in. There's our old clutch, of course. So the Mcleod is in right now. Here's the old pilot bearing you see right there. It's all smushed because we have the dangle wrong. And that's just one of the fun things about putting a tranny in these is, I don't know, it's like hit or miss for me. It's like sometimes it goes a breeze putting it in, sometimes it takes forever, sometimes it doesn't work. I don't know. Bought the truck, rebuilt the transmission, put a clutch in it, put a different clutch in it, put another clutch in it, put a motor in it. Yeah, so I've pulled the motor and trans out of this truck a lot of times. It's not, oh, that's kind of cool, like flickering. But yeah, I pulled the motor and trans out of this truck a lot of times. I think it's actually easier to pull the motor than it is to pull the trans on this truck. Like, it's easier, I don't know. I just have a hard time putting the trans in. I don't know why. Every time it's either hit or miss. It's like it either goes in or it doesn't. So we definitely don't have any air in the clutch because I bled it about 1,000,000 times. I have a pretty good patented way of bleeding these clutches is I use a clear tube line and I run it up into another brake fluid bottle, like .3, and then I crack the bleeder open and then I have someone pump the pedal while I sit there and top it off, and at the same time I can sit there and watch the line going into that brake fluid bottle, and literally you can sit there and watch bubbles come out, and then when it's just like a solid stream of fluid coming out and you have no bubbles whatsoever, you know you got a perfectly good clutch. The other thing too is the clutch pedal on here. It's super stiff. Like there's no play. You can hear the squeak right when we push it. So again, I think we just have those discs backwards. Probably wore into the plates backwards. So here we go, round 2, pulling the clutch out on srt10. Well, it's kind of frustrating because we are going racing in like 4 days, because yeah, Friday, 5 days, yeah, at Brainerd. So we gotta get this guy together, otherwise, yeah, no, there ain't no otherwise. We gotta get this truck. Guys, we got the tranny back out. We took some measurements of the throwout bearing from here to the transmission, and then also with it all the way compressed into the transmission, and then underneath we had the bell housing attached, and we measured from the bell housing like flat parts to where the clutch fork, or where the clutch fingers come out. So like, where's my bell housing? Over there. So the clutch fingers, so we did with straight edge, we put across from like here to here, and then we measured from that straight edge to the clutch fingers down below, and then you subtract the fully compressed throwout bearing measurement to the transmission case from the clutch fingers to the bell housing with the straight edge. That's probably perfect because you do not want the throwout bearing or the slave cylinder fully maxed out all the way down, because it'll actually be pushing on the fingers a little bit, and that's how you can burn your clutch out if it's too tight that way, because it'll constantly kind of, the clutch won't fully be engaged, so the clutches will be able to slip a little bit. So you gotta have some room of it not being fully bottomed out. So that's about perfect. So the next thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna pull the clutch out and I'm gonna flip the discs, and we are gonna put everything back together, because I'm 100% positive that we had all the air out of the clutch system. I was 100% positive. One, two, three. Be the third time we're pulling the tranny out. The fun of working in drag racing cars just keeps going. We're going to try shimming the slave cylinder this time, because we're still having the issue of it not going into reverse. I bled the shit out of the clutch. It has no air bubbles in it. The pedal's firm as hell. So now we are going to try shimming the slave cylinder so it pushes on the clutch farther. And yeah, so I'm just going to get to it because I really don't. Good thing I have all my tools laid out because I've done this 3 times. But yeah, you're going to need like an 8mm, 15mm, an Allen, I believe a 6mm Allen to get the interior all apart. And then underneath it's going to be a bunch of 8mm or 5/16 drive shaft bolts, some electrical connectors, and like 8 15mm around the transmission, and then the tranny comes out. And then, yeah, oh, and a clutch line that you can use a needle nose to disconnect or something. I don't really know. Alright guys, I have no idea where I left off because I've just been pulling this transmission out of my truck like 500 times. After talking to Mcleod, Row Racing, J&B Performance, I figured out my issue, and it is that you have to go to a Viper car slave, or you have to shim the stock slave cylinder out of our srt10 about a ½ inch. So that's pretty crazy, ½ inch. So I just decided to go with the stock Viper slave. We have one sitting right here because I actually bought that off of a guy when I bought my fuel system. So the problem is though, I don't have a clutch line for it and master, and everyone's 5 days out, or I can buy a whole kit from someone who can be here tomorrow so I can be ready to go drag racing this weekend. So that's what I did. So yeah, if you look at the issue here, they're both about the same height just sitting, but the actual like collapse height, so the srt10's like all the way down here, and then the Viper will stop about right there, and it is about almost a ½ inch difference between that two. And you want, if you measure from the bell housing to the fork, and then you measure from the slave cylinder all the way collapsed on the throw up bearing to the actual transmission case itself right here, you want it to be about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch, and to get to that I would have had to add about a ½ inch of shims. But yeah, it took a while to get there. I pulled the transmission, I put the clutch in normally, I started it, it didn't work, so then I pulled the transmission out again. I thought I had the clutch discs in the wrong spot, it turned out I didn't. So I flipped the clutch discs in place, put it back together, same thing, didn't happen. The issue we were having, it wouldn't go into first or reverse. Well, it would go into first just really hard, and it wouldn't go into reverse, so we were having an engagement or a disengagement issue. So then I pulled the transmission out again. I measured, not knowing what the hell I was doing, I measured the slave cylinder fully collapsed and the clutch forks, and I'm like, oh, maybe I just have to add like 2 hundredths of a shim. So I added 2 hundredths of a shim, put it back together. Again, nothing. Turns out I was doing math wrong, and I needed to add about a ½ inch of shims to make the Viper stock one work. So instead of doing that, I had a Willwood master cylinder laying around with like an adapter and stuff that would make it work on the Viper trucks. The only issue was that to hook up to the pressure outlet on the Willwood master cylinder, it was like a brake fitting size. So I ended up flaring a brake line and like ghettoing it onto my stock hydraulic line because I thought maybe the master cylinder wasn't strong enough, and hose clamping it, and yeah, and this is where it worked. It didn't leak, which was crazy, but it did the same exact thing as before. It wouldn't engage, and that was because of the slave cylinder, not because of the master cylinder. So I cut that line, ruined that. I ruined the stock master cylinder in the process of doing that. I could have saved my time and shimmed the stock one a ½ inch and maybe built like a plate. Took like a 1/4 inch plate and like welded it together and built like some cool back plate. Been done today, but tomorrow we are supposed to get the Viper hydraulics so we can have this truck all back together with that in. I'm going to clean the Mcleod, put it back in correctly with the discs in the right spot, and then hopefully we have a running and driving turbo Viper truck tomorrow so we can go racing. But this video has been ongoing for the last 5 days, so I think I'm going to end it right here with the truck still broken in the air where we are square one with the transmission out of it. So pretty much we did absolutely nothing but pull the transmission out like 5-6 times. I can't even remember how many times I pulled it out. So I definitely had a good tranny flush because I've ran so much fluid through it and dumped it so many times. So so yeah, guys, thank you for watching. I'm laughing, but I am also kind of mad. But this is life. This is the point of when you start getting into this custom stuff. It's just how it is. But thank you guys for watching. As always, keep it boosted, and